Support WrestleTalk!
Just 24 hours after the Wall Street Journal broke that the WWE board is investigating its own CEO and chairman, Vince McMahon, for allegedly paying a former employee he had an affair with, WWE released a statement announcing Vince has voluntarily stepped back.
Stand back! Stand back!
From his personal responsibilities as CEO and chairman of the board until the conclusion of the investigation. Replacing him will be his own daughter, Stephanie McMahon, who herself left the company the previous month. In wrestling terms, this is called hotshot booking. You're going to kill the territory, guys! It's a confusing mess, so here is a timeline of the various incidents leading up to this announcement. The Wall Street Journal has reported a female paralegal joined WWE's corporate team in 2019 on a salary of $100,000 a year. That number is possibly the most important part of WWE's investigation, so remember it, write it down somewhere. She started an affair with Vince McMahon, who is still legally married to Linda McMahon. A WWE spokesperson has said the relationship between Vince and the paralegal was consensual. They are not denying that it ever happened. The report then alleges the paralegal's salary doubled to $200,000 after she began a sexual relationship with Vince. It also alleges Vince gave her like a toy to WWE's head of talent relations, John Laurinaitis. In a weird case of everyone being connected to someone in the wrestling industry, Laurinaitis is married to Kathy Colace, who is the mother of the Bella twins, making John Laurinaitis Bryan Danielson's father-in-law. Laurinaitis is most publicly known for his brief on-screen antagonist role against CM Punk in 2011. Before then, he had been a long-term corporate figure in WWE backstage, running their talent relations, which is to say dealing with the wrestlers' logistics and HR issues, well that was a mistake, for the better part of a decade. This role ended in 2012 though. WWE rehired him as the head of talent relations on the 10th of March 2021, implying Vince sharing, gross, the paralegal with him occurred over the last year period. The paralegal then left WWE in January 2022. In order to get her to quote, shut up, a $3 million NDA settlement was arranged by Vince's personal attorney, Jerry McDevitt. Jerry McDevitt, oddly, is also the head lawyer for WWE. It's very unusual for the same lawyer to represent both a CEO and the company they run, but that has been the case since the 90s for them. $1 million was reportedly paid up front, with the remaining $2 million to be paid out over the next several years. It bars her from talking about her relationship with McMahon. McDevitt has said WWE did not pay any monies to the paralegal. This is an important part of Vince's defense. Paying a lot of your own money for something like this is icky, but not illegal. Using company funds to do that, however, would be serious misconduct. That's why the $100,000 raise figure is so important, because that would be using company money. From February to March 2022, the road to WrestleMania, it is believed someone claiming to be a friend of the paralegal sent emails to WWE's board, making the allegations against Vince McMahon, which directly led to the board starting their investigation. But who is the board? What is a board? Why is the board? Sidebar. A board is not the people who run the company. The board is a group of people elected by the shareholders who sit above the people who run the company and hold them to account. They're usually made up of a mix of important people from within the company and often high-level former executives from outside it. WWE's, for instance, has the names you'd expect: Vince McMahon, Nick Khan, Stephanie McMahon, and Paul Triple H Levesque. But the rest is made up of top-level business people from outside WWE, like Alan Wexler, a senior vice president at General Motors, and Erica Nardini, the CEO of Barstool Sports. These are the people the leaker was emailing about the NDA agreement. And you'd actually assume it was the 11 people because I don't think they were emailing Vince. Back to the timeline. The board instructed the New York-based law firm Simpson Thacher & Bartlett LLP to start the investigation. Simpson Thacher Bartlett, name of your new NXT 2.0 gimmick. The Wall Street Journal reports the investigation uncovered more NDAs of a similar nature. We don't know how many, including Vince and Laurinaitis. In what could totally be a coincidence, just, a real weird case of the exact same timing, this is around when Stephanie McMahon, Vince's Vince's daughter announced on the 19th of May she would be taking a leave of absence from the majority of her responsibilities in WWE to spend more time with her family. Not her business family, her nuclear family. She appeared to be removing herself from the duties of being WWE's chief brand officer, but importantly, remain on the board of directors. It was assumed at the time this was a consequence of her husband Triple H's very real-life threatening cardiac event last summer, that she wanted to spend more time at home. Since the Wall Street Journal report broke though, some have speculated it could have been to distance herself from WWE and her father in case the investigation became public. But just several weeks later, on the 7th of June, a story in Business Insider claims Stephanie was performing so poorly in her role, her father Vince forced her out of the company, which unfortunately isn't as shocking as you would think, seeing that he also fired his son Shane back in February for a backstage clash. The Business Insider report was widely regarded as a hit piece planted by WWE themselves, with Vince angry at Stephanie abandoning him and his company, possibly in one of his greatest times of need. The Wrestling Observer have since claimed the reason was to preserve the stock price, as the outside world could see Stephanie, potential heir to the throne, leaving WWE and start a share sell-off. Great strategy, guys. All bullets dodged there. And awesome you didn't bury someone you might desperately need to bring back imminent. Oh no, wait, that's exactly what they did. And then, just over a week following WWE's own alleged hit piece on Stephanie, they got a potentially fatal shot in their face from the Wall Street Journal, which included the troubling insinuation that, from the paralegal's perspective, her relationship with Vince did not end up consensual. My friend was so scared, so she quit after Vince McMahon and lawyer Jerry paid her millions of dollars to shut up. Allegations so strong, so potentially damaging, the unthinkable has happened. For the first time in 42 years, Vince McMahon is no longer the CEO of WWE. On the 17th of June, the day after the Wall Street Journal article was published, WWE and its board of directors announced Stephanie, the same person the company had just buried for being bad at their job a week ago, would be replacing her father Vince as interim CEO and interim chairwoman. They will then face each other at SummerSlam to crown an undisputed head of the company. That's how business works, right? Oh no, here's Shane with a Money in the Bank contract. I tried to stay as factual as possible up until this point. Now it's time for Speculation-a-mania to run wild, baby. Firstly, why Stephanie McMahon, the person who just left, when you've got a perfectly good Nick Khan sitting right there? Easy answer. She's a woman! It is freaking weird how closely a lot of this scandal has parallels with the HBO series Succession. In that show, spoilers, a big controversy explodes where the CEO has to fend off allegations of a toxic workplace and cover-ups of sexual assault. Who's the leading person to replace him while he steps down? If you answered all these crusty old white guys, you'd be wrong. The answer was, first, his daughter Siobhan, before they settled on the only other chick, legal counsel Jerry. It's good PR. If a company is facing allegations of treating women badly, it helps if you suddenly announce the new person running the show is a woman. You'll note I keep doing things like running and steps down in little air quotes, because another thing in Succession is that the CEO who steps down really does keep running the company behind the scenes. It's just a public-facing smokescreen. Vince won't be the CEO and chairman in name, but the statement says he will continue on with his creative day-to-day duties. I see a lot of this as cynical, saving-face PR. If this was a moral action, this decision would have been made as soon as the investigation was agreed upon by the board. The timeline quite clearly shows the main driver for Vince stepping down is because the investigation has become public. And again, if this was planned, they wouldn't have buried Stephanie just last week. This has all the appearance of a decision that was only made in the last 24 to 48 hours. But there's another reason Stephanie is the perfect replacement in this scenario. There's also the fact she was seemingly out the door already. Done. Finished. Checked out. An interim position during a time like this is a lightning rod. She's going to have to grin through a lot of crap, business questions, investigative reporters, angry shareholders, offended fans. Nobody wants to be the owner of a burning house. And fair or not, she will become the public face of WWE's response to this, good or bad. The best political play I can see here is to be the person in the background, waiting for this storm to blow over, and you can step into the light afterwards unscathed, ready to restore this institution to its former glory. Got no idea who that person could be. When I first heard of the investigation, I sadly wasn't shocked. Cynically, I never saw it as an actual threat to the powers that be in WWE. Laurinaitis would take the fall, Vince would rule forever. Now, I'm not so sure. What do you think will happen to Vince McMahon and WWE? Let me know in the comments down below. And please subscribe to WrestleTalk for daily wrestling news videos. Watch on to find out more.